Thank you, Gwen. I'm Tom Ullrich. I'm the COO of Aston Bay Holdings. I am a geologist, so bear with me. I'll try not to clobber you guys with geology on this presentation, but what I really want to do is give you an idea of what Aston Bay has been doing in the Arctic, the history of the project, and really why BHP is interested in this, and then, of course, why you might be interested as well. So Aston Bay, we are a single commodity-focused company. We like copper, not quite as sexy as gold right now, but we think the long-term fundamentals are great, and several large mining companies agree. And we're also a single asset company. The Storm Copper project is our only asset within the company, and that's what we're going to focus on. We are located in Nunavut. This is far north. We'll get into this a bit later. But really the opportunity we have here, it's for a type of deposit. It's called the sediment-hosted copper. If you want to think of it in simple terms, it is Congo-style copper, but in Canada, and that's really the prize here. We have a letter of intent in place with BHP Billiton, and we'll talk about the details of that later. We expect to have that deal officially signed by the end of this month. There's a lot of legal work with big company lawyers. You can imagine what that's like. And so what we're trying to do is really trying to maximize the value of this single project for our investors. The location, we are far north, no kidding. This is 72 degrees north. You know, if you are lucky enough to see the northern lights, you actually have to look south to see them. This is very far north. It's true, it's a true fact. And yeah, you're so far north, you actually rarely see the northern lights up there. We are on Tidewater, which offers some really fantastic logistical advantages for getting heavy equipment and materials to an exploration project. We have an annual sea lift that comes up every summer to get heavy things up there. We're actually just doing the bathymetry on the island or in the bay, in the bay at the island that will allow us to land heavy equipment and fuel right on our island. And we're actually just across the way, across the strait from the town of Resolute, which is a small town, about 250 people, but it's the center of Arctic science projects in the north. The Polar Shelf Project operates out of there. There's a large military base and a large airport. 737s land there every week, no problem. So logistically, it's actually a very nice spot to work, and the project itself is about 20 kilometers from Tidewater. Costs are not as bad as you'd expect, and they're actually cheaper than some landlocked locations, like for example here on even in BC. The jurisdiction, Nunavut understands mining. I think greater than 50% of their GDP comes from mining, and most of that actually from the Meadowbank mine. As far as the jurisdiction, the entire territory is a settled land claim. Our claims are actually on Crown land, so it's not as much of a problem, but obviously we still consult. It's critical. You know, it's procedurally and jurisdictionally, it's a very excellent spot to work. You know, they understand mining, and we can get things done. We're located just south of the historic, past producer Polaris mine. That was Cominco's old mine there, ran for over 20 years until I think 2004. Operated very profitably, is one of their most profitable mines. They mined year-round and shipped their lead-zinc con seasonally. That also, just east of us is the other large lead-zinc mine, Nanisivik, also past producer. But again, it shows that you can mine up there profitably. You know, it is cold, it's dark in the winter, but you can mine profitably. Even more important, some recent producers that have just come on, the Meadowbank mine, Agnico Eagle's mine, just south of us, and also the Baffinland Mary River iron ore project. Just goes to show that this is one of those, actually a rare jurisdiction in North America when you actually get a mine permitted and in production within a reasonable time frame. Those two current producers just demonstrate that, you know, that it can be done. Again, so we're looking at SED-hosted copper. The most important thing to know about SED-hosted copper is that they produce large, high-grade deposits. Again, the Congo, Cooper-Schiefer, these kinds of things. These are big things. And that's why big companies are interested in them. The land package we essentially control the entire belt. It's almost 1 million acres, 140 kilometers strike length, and we own the project 100%. So really I'll give you a bit of a history of the project, what we've been doing, what people have done before us, and where we're taking it. So, this is an old Teck, Cominco at the time, became Teck, Cominco, and then Teck. Cominco was operating the Polaris mine in the north. The mine was running at a feed, or they knew it was going to be running down, so they were casting around in the north looking for other opportunities, lead zinc opportunities. They happened to just land the helicopter. A young geo picks up a boulder. It's a boulder of 100% chalcocite, which is one of our favorite copper minerals. It's the main copper mineral we have at Storm. It's 80% copper. Obviously, that piqued Cominco's interest, and they followed it back and essentially did about 5 or 6 years worth of significant work exploring what we call the Storm project, looking for copper. They did over 9,000 meters of drilling. There's an image there. It's an image only a geologist could love. But the important thing to note there, what we have is some soil samples indicating high-grade copper at surface, some drill intercepts. The best intercept there, you probably can't read it, but it's 110 meters of 2.45% copper, but several intercepts with tens of meters of plus 1% copper in 4 main zones. The other the other piece of information on this slide, if you can see those sort of bluey purple blobs in the background, those are actually VTEM conductance anomalies. That's a geophysical anomaly indicating conductance in the subsurface. That was a program that was run by Commander in 2011. The important thing to note with this image is just the great coincidence between mineralization at the surface, mineralization, fantastic intercepts in the drill core, and with the conductance anomaly. So it's a great spatial coincidence with all 3 of those. Now, when Cominco was doing their work, obviously, they have their own budgetary pressures. The geologists have to fight for meters to drill within the company. At the time when Cominco had it in the late 90s, they were really unable to get budget to do any drilling outside of underneath the obvious surface mineralization. So they did a lot of work. They did about 5 years worth of work, a lot of geophysical surveys and surface surveys, but unfortunately, they never were really able to pick this apart and think about what else might be here than just what you see at the surface. In the early 2000s, price of copper wasn't great, in the 60-cent range. Unfortunately, Polaris was closing down. Cominco Teck decided to pull out of the Arctic. Really no work got done through the early 2000s. Commander picked it up, ex-Cominco geologist at the helm there. Unfortunately, they were unable to get the data, the historic data, so when Commander was really unable to sell the project to anybody. They had the mining rights, but they didn't have, or the exploration rights, but they didn't have the old data. It'd be very expensive to recreate that 5 years worth of data. So really nothing got done on the project. Aston Bay picked it up in 2011, 2012, was able to get the data, and then was able to actually do some more work. So what Aston Bay did is they went and essentially reinterpreted the geology here and reprocessed some of the data just to have a bit of a different, have a different look at this and think about this project more than just what we see at the surface. And the important thing, the reason you want to do that is, just a quick idea of how the sedimentary hosted copper deposits form. Essentially what happens, fluids are driven along faults. They can go up a fault, and if there is a permeable horizon, the fluids can percolate through there, potentially deposit their copper. And these permeable horizons, they might be a few meters to tens of meters thick, but laterally continuous. These things can be huge kilometer scale things. And if you deposit a mineral such as, picture that rock there, chalcocite, 80% copper, it's very easy to develop some significant grade and tonnage in these things. that's how the normal deposit works. You can imagine also that if, as these fluids are moving and percolating through the rocks, they can still move up along faults, and you might get a little bit of a spillover or leakage, and really that's what we think we were seeing here in the known drilling. This stuff at the surface, it's just the spillover, the leakage. It's the bit of toothpaste that's stuck on the cap of the toothpaste tube. You really want to find the tube, right? So that's really what we're looking for here. We're looking for the large conductors, large deposits that could be here. We reprocessed some of these historic geophysical surveys. We came up with some very large anomalies. Again, these are conductance anomalies. These are our biggest one is the blizzard. It's about 3 by 7 kilometers. It's big, high. Could be. This is really the sort of thing that we're looking for. We did some additional mapping, some more geophysics. The important thing that we did, we went and did some gravity. The problem with conductance anomalies, again, they're just conductance. It's not necessarily copper or sulfide. It could be a number of different things. Doing some gravity anomalies, doing some gravity surveys, we found some excellent coincidence with the gravity anomalies and these conductors. So it really gave us high confidence that these anomalies are actually high-density conductors, possibly sulfide and hopefully copper, chalcocite or something, some mineral like that. We also have some historic VTEM surveys, and there were, again, came up some large anomalies, over 50 kilometers of favorable stratigraphy with excellent anomalies. And this is really what BHP is interested in. They want to find these, test these large anomalies to hopefully find a large BHP-sized project. And the important thing about a BHP-sized project, BHP is only looking for very large things. You know, these guys are looking for 50 million tons of copper, 50-year mine life. They're not really interested in messing around with smaller things. That's why BHP is here, is because the potential for these large deposits are here. And what we're trying to do now, we're just trying to maximize the value of the project. We have a letter of intent with BHP. Quick details of the agreement. It's an all or nothing $40 million for 75% of the property. We get 4 years without having to contribute anything to any of the expenses, the exploration expenses. That gives us 4 years of sort of free time to create a little bit of price friction, some price discovery on this project. Anyways, yeah, we have a tight share structure, a lot of insider holdings. We have some key shareholders, some major institutional investors, JP Morgan, McKinsey, Tech, all holding Aston Bay. We're very happy to have them as partners in this. And yeah, so be glad to talk to you more about this. I'll be in the back of the room with Ryan there. We'd be glad to talk about our projects a bit more. So come by and we'll have a chat. Thanks.